My name's Caleb Turner, and before everything broke, my life with Olivia Park looked neat on paper. We were the quiet couple on Maple Ridge. Meal prep on Sundays, laundry on Thursdays, a walk around the block most evenings. I managed back-end systems for a logistics company. She'd finally settled into a real estate role after a few bumpy office jobs. Nothing flashy, just steady. Then came the new friends, Noelle Pratt and Brianna Hale from her office, arriving in every story like backup dancers choreographed to a single beat. Distance him, unsettle him, make him chase. Their lines started showing up in Olivia's mouth like they'd been rehearsed. I need to put myself first. Being married doesn't mean I owe you an explanation. Not yelled, just slipped into ordinary moments. If I asked why she came home at midnight, I got a shrug and a sermon about boundaries. The night I really heard it, I was grabbing a glass of water while they laughed in the living room. Noelle said, "Men only change when you stop being available." Brianna added, "Disappear for a week. Watch him crawl." Olivia's voice dipped, steady. "I've been thinking about it." The next Sunday, she stood in the hallway in a hoodie, a duffel at her feet. "I'm staying at Noelle's for a week," she said like she was announcing a grocery run. "We had dinner plans with my sister. I need space," she repeated, almost gentle. Then she left, a soft door click like a test beginning. Day 1. The house was a museum of our habits. 2 coffee mugs, 1 folded throw blanket. The quiet wasn't heavy, it was honest. By day 3, I'd replaced panic with clarity and called Marcus Ellison, a family attorney recommended by a friend from college. We talked assets, accounts, and how to move calmly. He suggested a separation filing. I signed. Olivia texted that night. "Hey, just checking in. You good?" I typed, "Yeah. You?" "Thinking about stuff," she answered. That's all. Like we were colleagues debriefing a meeting. I left it there. By day 4, the draft was on my screen. By day 5, I authorized delivery to her temporary address. By day 7, she walked into our living room with a practiced smile, eyes scanning for a broken man. Instead, she found a tidy stack of papers on the counter with her name on the envelope. "These are divorce papers," she breathed. "You left to teach me a lesson," I said quietly. "I'm graduating." Her mouth opened, then closed. "Caleb, that's not what I meant." Noelle said. Brianna said. "What did you say, Liv?" I asked. She paced, then placed the envelope back where she found it, as if returning a library book she didn't mean to take. "We can undo this," she whispered. "I'm choosing clarity over experiments," I said. She studied my face for a tremor that wasn't there and finally walked out with the envelope pressed to her chest like a last-minute shield. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be cold. The truth is, I loved routine because it kept our promises alive. Mornings were our small church. Omelets, her hair loosely pinned, my laptop open with a few lines of code I couldn't leave alone. She'd kiss my cheek and ask how I could love something so predictable. I'd say predictability is just another word for trust. But the cracks started months before the duffel. There were the networking nights that somehow required low-lit lounges she never named. The double shampoo in our shower when she hadn't switched brands in years. Receipts in the laundry for boutique wine bars nowhere near her office. And then the new phrases, polished, borrowed, and aimed. I didn't want to be a detective. I wanted to be a husband. So I chose the softer road. Watch patterns, not people. Track what was ours versus what was being rented by strangers' advice. But patterns became proof when a client of mine, who just closed on a storage contract, mentioned he'd seen Olivia at the Hawthorne, a spot known for late closings and louder promises. She was with the tall guy in the gray suit, he said. Looked like a boss celebrating. I filed the comment away, until the gray suit acquired a name. Adrian Walsh, the regional sales director who showed up on Olivia's calendar. Then her lips, then her reflection. I noticed little things. The brighter lipstick that matched nothing she owned. The sly smile after a text she never acknowledged. The new Saturday gym habit that produced no gym bag and no sweat. I didn't explode. I wrote down the dates the car returned at 12:47 a.m. I wrote down the dinners that became client drinks. I wrote down the weekend she stayed at Brianna's, while Brianna posted photos from a winery 3 hours away. And while I wrote, I remembered what I actually wanted, to be chosen in rooms I wasn't standing in. Our desires had once been simple. I want a small backyard with a grill and a lemon tree. She wanted a downtown office with floor-to-ceiling windows and her name on one of the doors. Those weren't conflicts. They were coordinates. We could have built a map, but maps require honesty. She was busy redrawing borders with Noelle's pen. The first text I couldn't ignore appeared on her tablet when she forgot to log out. Adrian, same time Tuesday, corner table. Olivia, make it Wednesday. He's home Tuesday. I didn't scream. I set my coffee down so gently the cup didn't clink. Then I took a photo, saved it to a drive Marcus would eventually appreciate, and closed the tablet like a prayer book. That night, she curled against me on the couch during a crime show, her head light on my shoulder, her perfume unfamiliar. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm learning," I said. "Learning what?" Olivia asked, smiling at the TV. "What it means to love someone who thinks distance is a strategy," I said. She shifted, then kissed my jaw like she could reset a clock with her lips. I let the moment pass over me without anger. In quiet rooms, truth grows legs. I believed my notes. I believed my eyes. But I still needed to hear the truth in her voice. Not because I wanted a confession, but because I wanted to hear who she'd become. Wednesday came. At 9, she texted, "Late showing. Don't wait up." I replied with a thumbs up and made dinner for 1. By 10, I parked 2 blocks from Hawthorne and walked in like I belonged to the shade. The place glowed with job title confidence and whispered deals. In the back corner, under a pendant lamp that made everyone look more expensive, sat Olivia and Adrian, shoulder to shoulder, their bodies angled like a secret. I didn't approach. I stood long enough to see his hand trace a light circle on her wrist, long enough to hear her laugh in a register I hadn't heard since we were 22. Then I left. No scene, no confrontation, just a man who finally stopped arguing with himself. Back home, I set the table for 2. Water glasses, linen napkins, the good plates. When she came in near midnight, I was reading the inspection report from the house we once dreamed about buying. She froze. "Why are you up?" "I made you dinner," I said, eyes steady. "Want some?" She blinked at the table. "I ate already." "With Adrian?" I asked like I was inquiring about the weather. She swallowed and found the only script she had. "Caleb, you're being controlling." "I'm being specific," I said. "He touched your wrist." "You laughed." "You lied." Her chin lifted. "You followed me." "I saw what I needed to see," I said. "The rest is already in writing." She looked at the table, then the clock, then the floor. "I needed to feel desired," she said finally, the words arriving carefully, like she practiced them in a mirror. "So you chose a man who desires what isn't his," I replied. "That's not desire. That's appetite." Her eyes watered. "Please don't make this ugly." "Olivia," I said softly, "it became ugly the moment you decided to treat our marriage like an experiment with Noelle as your lab partner." She whispered, "I'm sorry," but the apology floated like a leaf without a branch to fall from. "I'm not here to punish you," I said. "I'm here to end the lie." The next morning, Marcus filed the separation. He also drafted a clean, enforceable post-separation agreement. No fireworks, just lines and signatures. Meanwhile, I canceled joint cards, set up my direct deposit to a new account, and removed her from every bill except her car and cell. Not revenge, exactly. Just reality, arranged neatly. 2 days later, a notification hit my private drive. HR policy acknowledgement. Phillips and Walsh Realty. It was the company's annual compliance form, and, like every year, Olivia had signed it. The clause about relationships with direct or indirect superiors couldn't be any clearer. I didn't blast it to her boss. I didn't threaten anyone. I saved it, date stamped, and moved on. Revenge, I was learning, isn't spectacle. It's choosing what you won't carry another inch. People imagine revenge as a grand scene, the glass shattering, the microphone drop. Mine was a table for chairs and documents. Marcus called it a grown-up strategy. I called it breathing. We met for mediation on a Tuesday. Across from me sat Olivia, her attorney, and a bottled look of composure. Between us lay the math of a life. Mortgage equity, retirement accounts, the car titles, and a modest savings we both contributed to. Marcus slid a folder forward and spoke with unshakable calm. "First," he said, "here are records of Ms. Park's overnights out of the marital residence in the 60 days preceding separation, corroborated by her own text messages." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't dramatize. He just set facts down like coasters under drinks. Second, here's the company's policy Ms. Park signed. Third, here are the dates Mr. Turner requested counseling, and Ms. Park declined. Her attorney shifted in his seat. Olivia stared at the table. Marcus continued, "We're not here to ruin careers. We're here to resolve a marriage. Mr. Turner is willing to take on the entire mortgage if he retains the house and the SUV he primarily uses. Ms. Park keeps her car and her brokerage account. Mr. Turner is also removing Ms. Park as an authorized user on his cards effective immediately." Olivia glanced at me, something like a plea in her eyes, but I'd promised myself I wouldn't negotiate with the man I once was. The man who clung to promises after the other person cut them into shapes that fit new pockets. Her attorney suggested a different split. Marcus declined. "Given the documentation, our proposal is generous," he said. He was right. I wasn't extracting. I was closing. Then came the quiet piece, the one I'd wrestled with for a week. I slid an envelope across to Olivia. Inside was a letter, my voice on paper, not fire, not ice. It said, "Liv, you told me distance would make me value what I had. It did. I valued the version of us that didn't ask me to beg for the bare minimum. I won't humiliate you at work or ruin anyone's name. That's not who I am. But I am done carrying what you handed to strangers to handle. I hope you find the honest life you once wanted with me." See, she read it twice. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with recognition. The spectacle she expected would never arrive. She'd have to live with the ordinary consequences she built. No viral moment, no dramatic apology to collect me. Just Tuesday, and a pen, and a door. What about Noelle and Brianna? They vanished. When the papers hit, they didn't pick up her calls. They didn't answer her texts. They weren't mentors. They were a chorus that loved the echo more than the song. And Adrian? The moment whispers reached HR, he requested a transfer to focus on new markets. Translation: find a new corner table. That night, in the house that would be mine, I grilled chicken, watered the lemon sapling I planted in a big pot, and listened to the kind of silence that doesn't accuse. Revenge didn't taste like victory. It tasted like clean air. About a week before the final hearing, Olivia came by without makeup, without armor. She stood at the back door, where we used to pass plates onto the patio in summer. "I was wrong," she said. No excuses. No blame shifting. Just a sentence with its head bowed. "I know," I said, not unkind. "I wanted proof I was still wanted." She whispered. "You were," I said. "You just couldn't feel it without an audience." We sat at the patio table we once assembled together, and for the first time in months, we told the truth without trying to win. She admitted the affair with Adrian had begun as accidental closeness during late-night showings and turned into a shelter for the attention she wasn't asking me for. She admitted Noelle and Brianna's voices had felt like permission slips for behavior she'd already chosen. She admitted she thought leaving for a week would make me collapse, and the sight of my steadiness felt like a betrayal of the story she'd been told. "Is there any hope?" she asked, voice small. "Forgiveness, yes," I said. "Another try, no." She nodded, tears bright but contained. "That's fair. I don't hate you," I added. "I just can't be married to the version of you that needs a crisis to remember what love means." 3 weeks later, a judge's signature made it official. No celebration, no speeches. I went home, opened every window, and let in a breeze that smelled like cut grass and lemon leaves. I didn't post a quote about freedom. I didn't swipe through dating apps. I made a sandwich and stood barefoot in the kitchen we chose together, realizing the best revenge I'd crafted wasn't legal or financial. It was personal. I became a man who will never again beg to be chosen. People asked later if I'd ever take her back. They said she looked genuinely sorry. I told them remorse is a decent guest, but it's a terrible roommate. I wanted a partner who chooses without being watched. I changed my routines in small, human ways. Mornings, I still made omelets, but I played jazz while I cracked eggs. Evenings, I ran a mile, not to outrun anything, but to return to myself. I kept the lemon tree alive. I learned how to replace the fill valve in the upstairs toilet. I called my sister more. I said yes to a weekend trip I'd been postponing. And when I passed the Hawthorne on the way to a friend's birthday downtown, I didn't flinch. A corner table is just furniture. As for Olivia, a mutual friend said she left the realty firm quietly. She moved into a small apartment near the river, took up pottery, and, this part made me smile, stopped asking other people what to do with her life. She and I exchanged 2 emails months later about taxes and a final bill. The last line she sent read, "Thank you for not turning me into a spectacle." I replied, "Thank you for telling the truth at the end." If you're listening for a moral, it's simple. Distance is not a love language. Loyalty, chosen daily in rooms where no one is clapping. That's the whole thing. Don't threaten to leave to measure devotion. Ask for what you need. And if you're the one betrayed, understand this. You don't have to scorch the earth to start over. Sometimes the strongest revenge is a door that closes quietly and a life that opens loudly. I water the lemon tree every other morning. I grill on Fridays. I keep the good plates in reach, not for a special occasion, but because I became the occasion, steady, specific, and no longer negotiable.